What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's Nelly here. I was excited to say this was gonna be, hmm, that she was gonna be in a video with me. No, she's gonna be too cool for school. Anyways, hi. It's been a minute again because I got sick. It has been 3 weeks now. And I sound better. There was about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, that I had no voice. And Squish would just look at me like I was like, who are you? You look like my TT, but I don't know, are you? So we're just gonna go with this. So here we are, sounding like we have raisins in our nose. I don't. March is Endometriosis Awareness Month. All right. And that is what today's video is going to be about. So I just kind of share my journey and my story with it and kind of just go from there. I don't know, this could be a complete disaster of a video. It could be helpful. I don't know. I just know that until I was diagnosed, I had no clue that this even existed, and that's not cool. Considering how many women suffer from it, I was trying to think of a better word than suffer, but there really is no better word than suffer. So we'll just start from the beginning, since everybody here only knows my journey. Anybody from my channel only knows my journey through this last big bad time, I guess, which started in July of last year. So I've had endometriosis, or I was diagnosed, I guess. I was diagnosed when I was 22. So that's 8 years now. And it started, kind of some of the symptom type stuff started around this time, in that time frame. But I kind of just thought, it was like kind of like the flu or really bad cramps or whatever. Because I'd, like, growing up, and when I would get my periods, they'd never be, like, they'd never be bad. Like, I would never get cramps. I only know that there was PMSing because my mom said there was, and I'm like, okay, that's all right. I was a teenager, so of course I'm not gonna be like, no, I'm not. Like, I'd already had attitude, so it made no difference to me. But I didn't have bad periods, and they'd only be like 3 days. So, like, the day it would start, one full day, and then the day it would end. And then, like, it kind of, every once, like, then there'd be some, like, spotty, whatever. It's like nothing terrible. So it got to a point when, like, periods would be so painful. And I was like, this is definitely not normal. So I kept going to the doctor, and most of the time I was just getting into, like, doctors on call for the day or whatnot. So it got to a point where I had basically been to the clinic every day in a 2-week span, seeing different doctors, and all of them, like, doing doing x-rays, doing blood work, lab work, urine, blah, 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 all that. and coming back to me and saying, "Oh no, everything's fine. I don't know what you're talking about." So to then I'd just kind of like, "Oh, okay." Then finally, because it got to a point where I was just looking like I was coming in trying to like get pain meds. So I was like coming in peddling pills. Like, no, I'm just in a lot of pain. And then it finally got to a point where one doctor had ordered I think it was a CAT scan. CT, CAT, whatever. I think they're the same. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, medical professional. Don't know. But that had located, well, not really located, it showed a 3-inch cyst on one of my ovaries. And Autumn panicked because I didn't think an ovary could hold something of that size. So I called my mom, and again, panicking. So my mom comes and she's talking to the doctor like, "Okay, are you like gonna remove it, or what's the plan here, friends?" And they're like, "No, she needs to see a gynecologist first so that they can look at it." I'm like, okay. So then I get an appointment scheduled, and the earliest I could get in was like, I want to say a week and a half to 2 weeks after the fact. So I'm like, okay. In excruciating pain still. And then add on top of that, I'm aware that there's this large cyst. So, okay. I'm also 22 at the time, never had any issues with any of this stuff. So I was like kind of panicky, I guess, and just, it was surreal. So I'm waiting out this appointment, and the day before this appointment, I'm at work, and at the time I was in customer service, so I was on the phones, and in the middle of a phone call, it felt like a shotgun went off in my pelvis, and I sent an email to my manager. Well, first I text my mom and it's like, something is not right. Like, I've never experienced a pain like that up to that point. Obviously, it's been up to that point, I had never experienced anything remotely close to a pain like that in my life. So I text my mom, and like, I can hardly breathe. The pain was so bad. And I'm going to come and get you and take you to the emergency room. So I sent an email to my manager at the time and was like, something's wrong. I need to go to the emergency room. And he hadn't responded. And I'm not just the type of person to like, I'm just going to clock out, goodbye. No, I went over and talked to him, and I'm like doubled over. I was like, something's wrong. My mom's coming. I'm going to the emergency room. And he's, okay. And it's funny looking back now, but at the time, I'm sure he's kind of just as panicked as I was. So we get to the emergency room and explaining to the emergency doctors like what was going on. And their diagnosis, I guess, was that the cyst ruptured. And that's what the pain was the cyst rupturing. And that until my body absorbed all the material of the cyst, that I was going to be in pain. So they give me like, I think it was like 3 or 4 times the dose of morphine they normally do. They do that, and then they're like, all right, have a good rest of your day. I'm like, fantastic, okay. So my mom takes me home because I'm way hopped up on morphine. I get home, and within 15 minutes of being home, this morphine has worn off completely. So that's kind of where I started to think, shit, this is gonna be rough. So then I call my primary doctor, because at the time my primary doctor was harder to be in contact with than the freaking president. And he had an opening, he had a cancellation of like either that day or the next, and said I could come in. So I was like, okay, I'm doing it. And he kind of explained, okay, it's just gonna take some time for your body to absorb all this, and then, everything should be better after the fact. And then he gave me like, I think it was like tramadol or something. It was a decent, at the time, pain medication. So for like 2-3 weeks, I'm taking tramadol every 4 to 6 hours, and nothing is even remotely touching the pain. I was basically just going through life high and still in excruciating pain. It hurt to sit, it hurt to stand, lay down. I know it sounds so dramatic, but until you go through a pain like that, you're like, oh, okay. If somebody were to tell me now, if somebody were to tell me then what I know now, I'd look at them like they were nuts, because hi, Jebby. Because there's no way a person should have to live a life like that. So after like 2 to 3 weeks, when things weren't getting much better, I started calling different hospitals, like in a bigger city, thinking, okay, maybe just the doctors here, we're a smaller city, maybe they're just not equipped to know what to do, and they're just gonna keep looking at me like I'm nuts. So I call Sanford and to get into like an OBGYN there, and within the first visit, because the first visit, it was just like an office visit, so like I just went into his office and we had a chat. And just from what I told him, he already knew that surgery was going to need to be a thing. So I was like, oh, okay. So then I want to say it was like a week or two after this visit, I was having my first surgery. And after that first surgery, that's when the official diagnosis of endometriosis was made. So I went from April to, I believe, August 1st was my first surgery. So from April to August, of doctor after doctor after doctor. I think I went to the ER 2 or 3 times in that time frame, plus that CAT scan, CT scan, whatever. And each and every time it was, oh, it's nothing. Oh, you have to wait. Oh, just do this. Nobody wanted to listen. And I will say, I do consider myself extremely lucky for it only taking, what is April to August? 4 months? 4 or 5, depending on when in April, March, April it started, whatever. Most women don't get diagnosed for years, if at all. So I do, in that aspect, consider myself extremely fortunate that I found a doctor, the first doctor that I found in Sioux Falls just knew, oh, I think it's this, let's do surgery. Because the only way you can 100% diagnose endometriosis is a laparoscopic surgery. So they just go, like, they do little cuts. So now after 3 surgeries, I now have 3 cuts in my belly button. And then I have one on each side of my stomach. And then in my last 2 recently is when he's also done like a DNC and like just checking in my uterus. So then there's one right above my pelvic bone. But my first surgery was just the incision on one side and then in my belly button. And basically it's just, they go in with the camera and they can just look around. So it's an exploratory thing. And then so at that time, how do I want to phrase this? In most cases, if and when the endometriosis was discovered, that's when they would do like the excision. That's the freaking word. That's the better way to do it is excision. That's more of like, actually, you know what? The other one is ablation, and that's basically just like burning it, which, yes, endometriosis is caused, well, not really caused, but it's, wow, words are hard today. They're abrasions and lesions that bleed internally and then build scar tissue so that it's not fun. It looks gross. It feels not good. But anyways, so at that time, he should have removed or done whatever he specifically does to it when he found it. At the time, we thought he did. So I come out of surgery. He tells my mom what it is. She then is left to tell me what it was. Because, again, I was 22 when I got diagnosed. And I'll never forget this, and I tell her to this day. I was still pretty out of it from, like, anesthesia and whatever. But when she told me what it was, I was like, and what? Endo who? And so she's kind of telling me, like, she's telling me about it and some of the symptoms and what it can cause. And when I was still pretty messed up, that's when she told me that it can cause infertility, that there could possibly be a chance that I'm unable to conceive naturally. And again, I was pretty high on life at the time, so I was just like, oh, okay. It wasn't until I was like home recovering and coming down from everything that the weight of it all just fell on me. And at 22, you're not exactly thinking about starting a family or whatnot. But then to be told that there's a chance you might not even get to when you're ready, it was really hard for me. So, again, I'm glad she told me when I was still pretty doped up, because I probably would have broke down had she not. Anyways, so after the fact, he recommended that, well, he said, oh, well, it's removed, so, or they did whatever, I did the surgery, so I should be okay now. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, after the surgery and my recovery time, I was still in so much pain. And I'm like, you literally cut into me. And then, so then he prescribed a pain pill. So then again, I'm spending most of my time high on tramadol, and just nothing is taking this pain away. I wasn't able to sleep. I have a desk job, so I sit. I wasn't even able to do that. And I was so upset because I have a desk job and I can't even sit. Like, this is ridiculous. So I'm in contact with him again, and then that's when he recommended that I do Depo-Lupron injections. And there was the option to do every month or one every 3 months. And they are so expensive. I think the once a month at the time was $3,000 every month, and then the one every 3 months was $8,000. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's what it was. I don't remember. I just remember there was a time when I had an almost $9,000 bill, and all I had was the injection, and I was like, what the frick? Like, this is so surreal. So I did that, I think I had 3 injections. And what the Lupron injection was supposed to do is basically put my 22-year-old body into menopause. So it's shutting down my ovaries, so I wasn't getting periods. And I was getting the hot flashes. Like, I tell you what, when I do hit menopause, I'm prepared for those hot flashes because holy hell, those were rough. And so all that, and what it also did was, I want to say in the 9 months so it would have been 3 injections. In that 9-month time frame, I want to say I gained 75 to 100 pounds pretty much from the injections. I was just always in so much pain that, like, I didn't eat. Mostly, like, when you're just hurting, you don't want to do anything. I would spend most of my time in bed in the fetal position and sleeping if I could, or just laying there sobbing because I wanted to sleep and I was in so much pain and I just wanted it to stop. And it was a really rough time, and I still, now, because endometriosis is a hormonal disease, so those injections put all the weight on, and now, since my hormones are all fucked, it's so hard for weight to come off. And just with some of the high pain days, it's hard to get that motivation to want to go work out. And I know a lot of it is I just need the willpower to do it. I can't blame my illness for it, like the weight staying on. But at the same time, it kind of is. But that's that. So then I told him that, like, these aren't working. Like, I'm still in so much pain. So that's when he referred me to an endocrinologist and fertility specialist that specializes in endometriosis. So I go see him, and after like 1 or 2 appointments with him, he's like, okay, we're gonna do another surgery. And I was like, oh, okay, another laparoscopic surgery. So this time, that's when he did the DNC and was kind of looking in the uterus and measuring everything and all that. And that's when he told us that, it really doesn't look, you've had surgery before? And my mom said yes, and when I had it done, and he goes, there's no scar tissue. So essentially, the first time I had the surgery, he went in, saw what it was, and then came out. And then I did the Lupron injections, and nothing. So I don't know if, like, looking back now, I'm not sure if at the time, if he would have, like, done excisions or ablations or whatever, if I would be in a different spot now, like, not having done 3 surgeries already. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. It's in the past now. We're here. So he did that surgery. And then I just did continuous birth control pills. So I wasn't getting a period, because that's essentially when it gets worse, is when you have periods, and then when you bleed, that then adds more scar tissue and everything builds up again and whatnot. It's so hard to explain this. Like, I know what it is in my head, but it's so hard to, like, put it into the world, But I more so want to share my story because it's not something that's talked about a whole lot. So we're going to fast forward here. So I had 5 years where I was doing good pain-wise. I am in some sort of pain 24/7. Some days I can just push through it, and other days I cannot. I don't really, that's what I don't talk about most of the time. A lot of times if I talk about my pain, that's when it's really bad. So I'm trying, because it comes off as whiny and like, yeah, I get it, you're in pain, there's nothing I can do about it, blah, blah, blah. That's how I feel anyways, and I know that's not necessarily the case, but... So I had about 5 years where everything was fine, and then I want to say about May of last year, I started to get really bad and heavy periods. Well, I should rewind. I did go off of the pill like a year beforehand, just because it was after my 27th birthday. I think I had like a little midlife crisis at 27 because I was like, I don't know if I can have my own kids. So I got off the pill, and I wanted to start getting regular periods because I wanted to make sure that my body was still able to do what a female body was supposed to be able to do in menstruating without needing medicine to be able to do it. And I talked to my doctor about it, and they said, okay, you can do that. If within 2 months, if you don't get a period, let us know, and then we can give you something to get that kick started. Well, I was hoping it wasn't going to come to that because, again, I wanted to be able to do it myself. So then for about a year, everything was so regular. Like, I could, down to the date, like almost time, I could track and know when everything. So I felt great knowing that, okay, even like 4 years not getting a period, to then like, it just started right back up like it never stopped. That was reassuring to me. I know it sounds stupid. Like, you're probably saying, Autumn, you already knew how much pain you were in. Why would you do that to yourself? Again, it was a mid to late 20s crisis, okay? I'm sorry. If you've had one, you get it, okay? If not, wait for it to come. So then the pain started to get really bad again. And the periods were really bad. And so I more so wanted my doctor to just put me back on a pill and call it a day, but he was kind of beating around the bush about it. So then, come July, I only really remember because my period had started the day of my sister-in-law's baby shower. And then that's just like when all hell broke loose. So how I made it through that day, I'm not sure. But I did it. Probably because I knew it was 100% Megan's day, and I just wanted everything to be perfect. I have no fault to you, Megan. Okay, nothing. And then after that, I started, okay, we need to do something. This is bad again. So then he was having me come in and then doing more lab works and this and that. And it's like, everything was coming back. Well, this is fine. And I just felt like it was a deja vu moment from the beginning. And then he had recommended that I try getting on Oralisa, which is an endometriosis medication. And I was all for that. Like, yes, please sign me up. If it's gonna make everything better, I'm there, baby. Take my money. Let's go. And at the time, they were having their people check to see if my insurance would cover it. And they kept coming back, oh, your insurance should cover it, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, yeah, go ahead, prescribe it, and whatever. Guess what? My insurance didn't cover it. Guess how much it was out of pocket? Almost $2,000. And this is a pill you take twice a day. So I would be getting 1 month supply, basically. So I'd be paying $2,000 every month. I couldn't even afford rent at this time because I had been missing so much work because I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. Like, I would cry to even go to the bathroom. So then it came down to, which, if you've been on the channel since it started, I was supposed to have surgery at the end of November, which then turned into the first week of December, which then turned into the second week of December. So when I finally had it, my third surgery, he put me on a pill again, and we've just been existing ever since. Because yes, it's a pain that I can manage, it's a pain I can work through, live through, and just ignore for the most part, but it has its days. And I don't know, it sucks that this will be my life. I don't know. I would hope at some point that I could get on this medication. That would be great. But until then, we just fight the good fight and hope one day we'll get a cure and, we'll go from there. But until then, I wanted to share my story, Mostly because, again, it's not something that's talked about a lot. There's not a whole lot out in the world about it. I was actually going through Pinterest for some like ideas of like stuff to talk about in this video. And if you type in endometriosis in Pinterest, a lot of what comes up is like diet and exercise that you can do with endometriosis. It's more than just a diet and exercise. I've read stories of women who follow endo diets to the T, exercise daily, do yoga, do stretches, and they still live in debilitating pain. I mean, there's only so much that diet and exercise can fix. And when you're in a pain so bad, that's not one of them. So I'm going to end this video with a few things from Pinterest that I wanted to share. So, and a lot of it is just like chronic pain or chronic this, or like, okay, cool. It's the same thing basically at this point, because that's kind of what we're seen as is chronic pain. So, let's talk about effects of endometriosis. So, it is pain that can stop you in your tracks. It can be a struggle to do even the simplest of things, such as shower or move around. I will say yes. Most of the time during flare-ups, I spend it in the fetal position. Fatigue from being in so much pain means it's hard to maintain a healthy social life, which causes a strain on relationships. I am very lucky that my family is so on my side and understanding of this disease. It's unreal. I haven't had any romantic partners that I've had to worry about this with. So I guess that's a plus. Painful sex can cause less confidence and low sex drive, which can affect romantic relationships. Again, not something I've had to deal with. However, it does tend to be a turnoff to most prospects to think, for them to know that, hey, this could be a thing. So that's been kind of a downer in my life at this time, because I'm much more than just someone to have sex with, okay? That goes for all women. Okay, moving on. Severe pain that impacts our daily lives makes it hard to keep up with our jobs and careers. This is a big one for me anyways. And it's been rough, and I'm just very thankful that I have a job that has worked with me the way that they have. As endometriosis spreads, it can start to affect other organs such as bladder and bowel. I'm actually supposed to be seeing a GI doctor and a pelvic floor specialist to see if it has spread to my bowel and bladder. But at this point, I am so sick of doctors and nobody wanting to take me seriously that I've kind of just told myself I want to live for a little bit and then we can start going back to doctors. Isolation from the effects of endometriosis can lead to depression and anxiety. I already had those before, so I can't blame endo on that one, but it does heighten during flare-ups where you feel so useless. Like I feel like a useless human being taking up space in the world that can't even put pants on because my waistband hurts. Pain from endometriosis and endobelly means it's harder to keep up with personal appearance. This leads to low self-confidence. It can be hard to feel good about ourselves because this illness changes our bodies. Again, a medication that was supposed to help me made me gain 100 pounds. I went through a phase where I was doing my makeup every day and kind of just trying so hard to make the outside what I wanted the inside to be. And then it got to, like, I couldn't tell you the last time I had a haircut or the last time I colored my hair, or I couldn't tell you. That's why my hair is a hot mess and it's gross. But one, I haven't had money to be able to take care of myself besides, basic keeping the lights on and the heat. Things I grieve due to my chronic illness: having freedom, being active, my career, friendships, disposable income, feeling rested, and control over my own body. There are too many times I make plans and then within an hour I have to break them because it's so, I don't even know how to say it, like phrase it, that 1 minute you're fine and then within an hour everything is different. It's not cool. Endometriosis is sometimes putting your body through early menopause just to get some relief from the chronic symptoms of this monstrous disease. It is the betrayal of your own body. It is never feeling normal again. It is not being able to imagine life without it. It is hearing the news that you may never be able to conceive a child of your own, and if you do, it may be high risk. It is looking at every new mom with envy and praying to God that one day you are able to experience that joy. Endometriosis is having two levels of pain: bearable and unbearable. It is sometimes not being able to work or even go to school. Some days you just stay in bed all day and you wish you were working or studying at school. It is canceling plans with friends last minute because you just cannot shake the pain. It is feeling like you've won the lottery if you have one day pain-free. Endometriosis is hoping for a cure. It is often reminding others that there is no cure. Hysterectomies won't cure it. Pregnancy won't cure it. Painkillers won't cure it. Menopause won't cure it. Surgeries won't cure it. It is a chronic illness and a constant battle. I know after my last surgery, so many people just thought, like, I get it. It's not something that's widely known about, so of course you think, oh, you had surgery, you're better now, right? No, I'm not. I'm not. It kind of just buys you more time. It's rough, and it's hard to explain to people. Let's find a good one to end on. We'll end on this one. Maybe I wasn't put here to be the perfect daughter, friend, or wife, but instead to share a large portion of my life. To raise awareness for an illness that affects more than a few. To help the many women inflicted, perhaps one of you. I am one of the millions that suffers from this disease. One of the girls with hopes for this pain to ease. I know that I won't fight this fight alone, because there is no other that shares our backbone. We fight as one, and I am glad to have a voice, for the day a cure is found to help us all rejoice. We will shout from the rooftops that our pain will finally end, and walk away with more than a few friends. I will help spread the word in more than one way, because I am an Endo sister until my dying day. I'm going to leave a link to the Endometriosis Awareness page in my bio. Feel free to browse it. There is a donate button if you're feeling ever so inclined to donate to endometriosis research and, just helping find a cure for the uncurable at this point. That now, hopefully, our future girls and women don't have to suffer, that we can find a cure and things can get better. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you're new here, go ahead and maybe you want to subscribe, leave a comment, like it, share it. This isn't a normal video of mine, so I don't want to push out any, falsehoods that, this is a common thing. I do a little bit of everything over here. I have a voice and I'm going to use it. So here we are. So as always, tell your mom I says hi and peace out, Girl Scouts.